You know, I didn't have my first real faith crisis until I was in my 30s. I had never doubted what I believed or what I was taught or even personally experienced. But when my faith crisis came, my entire belief system fell apart. One of my earliest memories as a child was being taught that I am a child of God. And I remember when I was 5 years old one day that I was having a real bad day. And I went into my bedroom and prayed to God as I was taught. And I remember feeling so good inside. And I've often reflected on that moment, that God could help me, a 5-year-old, feel his love for me. I spent a lot of time with my father on the farm, and we would have great conversations about what we thought heaven might be like or the purpose of life is. And it was through those moments that I was able to feel a little bit of heaven in my life. And I've continued to have experiences where I felt God's love for me and gave me a desire to be a better person. One way that God showed his love for me was actually through my own father, after he'd given me a father's blessing. So time after time, I was having these moments with God. And it was through these small moments that I felt God's love in his existence. And sometimes these were, significant events. But most of the time they were small and simple. And I almost would have missed them had I not been paying attention. And so moment after moment, my belief in God grew stronger and stronger. And slowly, all that changed. I love to read and understand both sides of an issue. And as I started to educate myself on others' views on people's personal experiences, I started to doubt my own. And so those doubts and other people's experiences became part of my own belief system. I had a very painful experience with a church leader, and I felt like I had been completely misjudged. And rather than taking the time to understand what I was experiencing, I felt like he just labeled me as a sinner and unrepentant. And I was confused. If this was God's chosen servant, how could everything go so wrong? And I started to really doubt who God's inspired servants were. And as I continued to read and continued to experience things, I started to doubt anything that I knew or thought I believed. Until one day I just looked at everything and I didn't know what I believed anymore. So I did the safest thing. I built a wall around all of it because it was too painful and too hard to figure out what I knew or what I believed. And it was just much easier to walk away. It's a terrible place to be in. I didn't trust myself or my emotions or feelings, and I definitely didn't trust anybody in a spiritual capacity. A few months went by, and I was perfectly content with that wall being there. But something told me to go back, to tear that wall down and figure it out. And strangely enough, I felt God's influence in that direction. I had to clean house. I had to go back into my life and take out everything. The good memories and the bad ones. The spiritual experiences and the doubts. It didn't matter what it was. It all had to be removed. And it all came out into this huge pile of trash. I was cleaning my whole belief system and starting new again as a grown man. And it felt great. It felt great to start with a new belief system. And as I looked at this pile of trash, I knew I needed to pull out the things that I knew I had experienced with God. And for me, that first experience was praying as a 5-year-old and feeling God's love for me. I knew it had happened, and I remember what I had felt. And so I started to rebuild with the memories I had with God. And so moment after moment and memory after memory, I pulled them from this pile of trash and placed them back into my belief system. Any doubts or things that weren't spiritually confirmed to me were left in the trash pile. And eventually my belief system came to be only those things that I had personally experienced with God. Today, I am more careful about what I put in my belief system. I don't put doubts or other people's experiences in there. I only place those things that I feel guided by God to do so.